Oh, I curse the day that I sailed away from the dear old Isle of Green, on a foreign strand where I now do stand, and the deep sea rolls between.
The recent emigration epidemic in this country has served to highlight for many the great advances that have been made in communications technology such as Skype and Facebook. But this is not the first mass exodus from these shores. When Frank and Martha Kenny waved farewell to Dublin in the spring of 1977 for the sunnier climes of Australia, they found it more difficult to bridge the gap to home. At the time, the telephone was not a common feature in many Irish homes, but the Kenny family found a much more enduring way of capturing their loved ones' emotions. They recently uncovered several cassette tapes they had sent to each other during this period, on which they had documented their lives. From the trivial and the everyday, to live musical sessions and recordings of the big hurling matches of the time. What they found was an emotive catalogue of experiences which tell a tale of a vastly changed technological landscape.
In the leafy bowers, in the green fields round for Ban.
All the way from Australia, I'd like a big round of applause for Frank Kenny.
Well, we dreamed up that one ourselves. We said the tape would be ideal, like, you know. So we wouldn't write as often then, but we'd send a tape. I can't remember, maybe about twice a year, you know. So they used to send tapes back in that, you know, and tell them how things were going on and how you were faring and how everybody was back home, and just have a chat through the tape, like.
Yeah. They were only coming on, these tapes, like. I never heard of them now when I was younger even. Yeah. We wouldn't hear of them. It's just our uncle down the road, he was all into music and recording things, and, you know, he started it all off, like. He had a little recorder and everyone would do their party piece, you know. Wouldn't be going on only now when there be a party or Christmas or someone would have a little bit too much to drink. That's it, yeah. They'd be singing.
Ah, yeah, well, that was the way it went with everyone. Yeah. Everyone was the same at that stage. Anyone that could sing, and even lads that couldn't sing.
When I was a young man, I carried a flag, and I lived the free life of the rover. From the Murray's free basin to the dusty outback, I was Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, son, give over your rambling, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat, and they gave me a gun, and they sent me away to the war. And the band played waltz and Matilda.
It was really new, like, because you didn't have anything like that, you know, before. You had the voice, like, and you'd recognise the voice, like, which was great, you know, yeah.
They were glad to hear from them as well, like, and hear your parents talking, you know. So, you know, you'd be looking forward to putting on the tape on your recorder there and listening to it, you know, and you keep those, of course.
People would be shy talking enough. They'd be shy enough talking now on the tape, like.
I was a bit nerve-wracking at the time. No more than today. When you're not used to it, like.
This is Frances here, going to give you a little verse of a song. I'm tired now after a hard morning's baking for the weekend, but I'll have a go anyway and do the best I can. Last night as I lay dreaming of pleasant days.
With the abundance of live musical recordings, it led me to wonder how exactly they came about.
It wouldn't be really set up, it'd be just when the music would start, they'd be recording it, but no one else would be minding, really. They'd be in the house, like, you know.
There'd always be a sing-song. You know, a couple going home from the pub and go in and they'd sing there for a couple of hours.
He looked like a man with a foot in the grave and scarcely the strength of a louse. When he clicked his big old jaw on the bar, he said, drinks for the house.
I'm going up now to the shop for a paper, so while I'm away I'm going to hand over to my elegant little wife, Martha.
I'm sending me a tape of the old tones, because on the tape saying it's a long way from Clare to here, and we had the tapes in the car and it was so hot that the tape melted.
Yeah, it was lovely to hear the tape and to hear the voices. It was like they were here, like, you know. It was, yeah. It was lovely.
Martha remembers the reality check on arrival in Australia.
I didn't realise how far away it was, I suppose, really, because we got there in March and Easter was coming in then in April. And I mean, every break I ever had when I was in Dublin, I went down home to Clare. And then I thought, oh, I can't go back home now, you know. Yeah. It's so far away, so you just make the most of it. I suppose maybe if I was on my own, it would be different. But the fact of having Frank, I suppose he'd make you feel positive anyhow. Yeah. A shoulder to lean on. Whether he listens or not is another thing.
Hello, Frank and Martha. This is Jack. I hope you're in good form. We're in fair form here ourselves. Drinking plenty of porter. It's killing some of us and keeping more of us alive.
Frank got a job very quickly and he was go off in the mornings, very early, God, maybe on 5 or half 5, because he had travelled a good bit. See, they'd start very early and they'd finish early. Like even the pubs used to be closing at 10 o'clock at night. Sean Madden, he was the Irish fella and he played in a group. We'd go to hear him a lot and we got to go to the Irish club.
There was a big Irish population there and a lot of them were involved in the construction industry. So it was always a good place to socialise in the Irish club, and you'd nearly always, and especially if you're involved in sport, you had a great chance because they were always looking for a footballer or a hurler or something like that. So you'd be snapped up if you were able to do your job.
In Red Hill, there was a possum on the roof. And it was a lovely little thing, you know. A real furry little animal, you know. And they liked eucalyptus trees and that, like, you know, you see them flying up the trees and nibbling at the leaves and that, like, you know. You hear them running along like the roof, you know.
This is Man. Hope you're both well. We'll soon have the new potatoes. Pity you're not here to enjoy them. Are you still as fond of potatoes as ever, Frank? You used to love them hot or cold, and still you didn't put up the weight. Not like the rest of us.
We have very dull weather here presently, and we have an awful lot of new houses and new people. Everyone is very strange.
Frank's sister Frances describes the difficulty involved in organising a phone call to Australia in those simpler times.
A neighbour up the road had a phone. She was the only one on the road had a phone. And anyone that wanted to get in touch, they went through her. And she was elderly too, and she used to be able to come down quick enough, like, and she'd see maybe somebody passing. And she'd tell them to call, you know, to run down quick and tell them to come up. Or there'd be a mad gallop up the road.
Well, you just have to book a phone call, you know. You'd first of all, you'd send a letter home that you were going to ring on a certain day, and they'd be expecting your call, and you'd have to try and organise your times around, you know, with the time difference.
If you wanted to make a phone call, you had to get a doctor or anyone, if it's anyone sick, you had to go down the town to the phone kiosk, and there could be somebody in it having a big chat, and you'd be panicking to get, you know, or you'd be really, your heart would be going like pounding, and you'd have to ask the person would the soon be finished, you know. You had a emergency call, like. Yeah, it was very, like, you think it was way back thousands of years ago, but it's only like 30 years ago. That morning, there was great excitement. Your dad rang my neighbour up the road, Delia, and she got someone to go down. They ran down. You're wanted on the phone. You're wanted, and up by ran. Sure, it was great news. It was your dad. Cormac was after being born, and he told us what they were called, had a name and all for him. So it was really exciting altogether. So I couldn't wait to get back down to tell them then, you know. So I don't think the conversation was too long, because I was mad to get away to tell it, you know.
Wednesday night now, and we're both sitting down here watching television. Colour television too, actually. The black really comes out very clear.
Plenty of air. It's coming down about 40 yards out in the Wexford coast. Knocked out a bit, going back for a Tom Cashman for Cork. Nips it up into his hand. He's very mobile, very fast player.
Frank and Martha returned home in 1980 after 3 years in exile and raised a family in Dublin. Frank remembers now how his preconceptions about Australia didn't quite match the reality.
I had my own visions of what went out there, but when you go out there, it's not quite the same. You have to get stuck in and work. It's not a holiday. Australians expect a good bit from you. They have good work ethic, so there was no problem with that way. But it wasn't just a paradise. You had to work hard. But you would have a very good standard of living then when you worked hard and earned decent money. You have a very good standard of living. A car wasn't a luxury, or even a boat wasn't a luxury. To have a nice little boat there.
As the dawn of the internet has facilitated our access to far-reaching corners of the globe in an instant, the cassette tape has been driven into extinction, and the days of the letter are few and far between. Their power still endures in the hearts and minds of a generation.
There's no need now for write letters or anything like that. Even though it's still nice to get a letter, I think. But sure, they're nearly a thing of the past now. It's grand to read it and it brings you back to that time again, and you'd say, oh yeah, I remember that now. And but you'd have it forgotten till you'd read it. Yeah, no, it's all bills now in the door. That's all.
She took and kissed the first flower once and softly said to me, this flower I found in Thomas Street in Dublin fair, said she. Its name is Robert Demuth, the youngest flower.